Hello, everybody. I am Professor Pixel here on Pixel Lore once again to discuss the Rings of Power. It's a season finale, and to join in the discussion tonight, it is our usual co-host, our usual guest, who have been with us for at least part of this journey. To my side, you can see him. He's a writer. He's a wizard. He's a Landry Q. Walker.
Landry G. Walker.
No. G. And then, if you look down there, it's not a walker, but a walk-in. Jimmy, Christopher Walken.
Hello.
I hope you're ready for a conversation with Happy.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah, okay. So, this is the season finale. It's been a long road. Actually, it's not been that long. It's only been 8 episodes. But we are here at the end of the first season, and quite a bit goes ahead and gets revealed. Or at least they go ahead and try to, and then they cut it off with a secondary reveal. But yeah, no, there's a lot going on with this episode. Anybody want to go ahead and just jumpstart us? I'm not sure.
He's fucking Gandalf.
It's fucking Gandalf. Yeah, the stranger. Though at the beginning,
he's Sauron. I stopped halfway through. That's all I needed, right? And I'm good. He's Sauron, and they got a really nice guy helping them make rings. And now I know what's going to happen.
I was so mad, dude. So mad.
So
I was like,
yeah.
When he said the wise, I was like, oh, he could be Saruman. And then when he said the nose thing, I was like, oh, he's just Gandalf.
He was so very irritatingly Gandalf. Okay, where are we starting here? What is the first?
Yeah, that's perfect place
where
to
we're
start.
Starting right here,
because there are 2 main storylines going on in this episode. One with the elves, one with the Harfoot. The Harfoots are trying to help the stranger because the stranger is being chased by Eminem and her friends.
All right.
Eminem and the Funky Bunch.
Here's the thing: is like if this was, I don't know, some other epic sword and sorcery thing that was created for Amazon that had nothing to do with Lord of the Rings, just like if Galadriel was Sally the Elf and this was, the jewelry of magic show, and it was all about magic jewelry, and it just happened to have a lot, just like Dungeons and Dragons has all these Tolkien similarities. It's all based on Lord of the Rings in so many levels. I'd be fine with it. I just do not like this as a Tolkien adaptation. I think it's not great. As a fantasy series, I think it's perfectly fine. If this wasn't Lord of the Rings, that's its big misstep is that it's trying to be Lord of the Rings and it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, and especially with how they've handled the stranger, which they basically, he's Gandalf. He says the nose line, he's Gandalf.
He's Gandalf.
They won't call him that, but
there was more. I know Landry doesn't like Amazon copying Tolkien. I mean, not Tolkien.
Peter Jackson.
Peter Jackson. Thank you. Peter Jackson's what he did in his trilogy, and I noticed because when I was watching this, I was like, "Oh, Landry might not like this." I noticed more places they filmed at in this were the exact places that Jackson filmed at.
Oh no, yeah, and that was. I didn't need that, and I didn't mind the 3 magical ghost people. Like
they were Nazgul.
They can't be Nazgul. They don't have rings. They're wraiths, or actually, I think they're whites, aren't they? I think they're whites, which are like they're not Nazgul level, but they're still.
I mean, it would make more sense,
deal, right?
It would make more sense, but they were 100% going for wraiths. I mean, for Nazgul.
Well, but
they look like it, yeah.
The Nazgul and the whites are both wraiths. Just the Nazgul are like a high order of wraiths, where the Barrow whites or whites in general are a lower level of wraith. But they're all wraiths. So,
either way, how do you guys feel that Gandalf's staff is actually just the staff of one of the wraiths?
No, that
No,
one disintegrated in his hand.
Oh, it
Yeah, no,
disintegrated?
it's gone. Yeah, but that's what they were going for. It's all about what they were going for with that. We did get a death that I actually did feel though, because
I got touched up with it too.
what's his name? Oh crap!
Sadok Burrows.
Sadok. Yes, Sadok Burrows. He perishes, but he waits to perish. He like gets a dagger thrown into him.
I'm going to keep going.
Dramatic
I
look.
can't believe he was Sauron.
And he just digs it, and he gets up. It's kind of one of them.
It's funny that everyone was Sauron in the end.
In the end, it's the Saurons we made along the way.
In the end, it doesn't
Okay,
even
so-
matter.
I would have. I like the whole. Again, I thought there was a lot of it that was entertaining. And you give me anything where there's 3 ghosty people fighting a homeless-looking wizard dude, helped by 3-foot-tall people.
Halflings. Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm happy. Don't get me wrong. I am happy. I'm not happy with the way it connects to the Tolkien lore, but I am happy with those bits. I just want to talk. I want to jump to the Sauron thing.
Go ahead. Let's talk about the big dramatic reveal. Basically, looking at the screen, grinning. This is a gift. Wink.
Pixel, I think you need to say something to me.
What?
You were right, Jimmy. Halbrand was.
Yeah, you were right. I've been agreeing with you all this time.
No,
He
didn't.
was. He just shouldn't have been. But the minute he like ends up over there with the Forge, she takes him there. It's like, okay, he's definitely Sauron now. Now we know.
Yeah.
Beyond a shadow of a doubt.
You don't want to name him.
Episode 3.
I've been agreeing with you since episode 3.
It was me that was arguing it.
Yeah, Landry was not for Halbrand as Sauron. I've been on this side.
Get it.
I'm just used to Pixel disagreeing.
Not this time though, bro.
No, here's
So
the thing. Jimmy, you were right. I was wrong. You were right. But you should have been wrong, and I should have been right because it was too obvious and it was so weak. It's like you look at Galadriel going, I'm so in it with this guy. He's the one. He's king. He told me he is. I don't know. I don't actually know that. Oh, there have been no kings for 1,000 years. If only I had been alive that whole time and had any sense of history in Middle Earth that I've been traveling.
Oh my god, right?
Galadriel is the worst. They've taken Galadriel.
She's such an idiot.
So horrible.
And
One
then,
of the most
and then
beloved characters and turned her into this.
she pretty much does this.
You're Sauron?
I was really expecting when Sauron was talking to Galadriel saying, you should be by my side. I was hoping he would say, my queen.
She's so non-Tolkien. They just should have had her go, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do this.
It's exactly what my roommate said. He literally goes, how different do you think it would be if she was actually like just by his side? I was like, well, first off, that'd be the scariest shit ever.
Yeah. You might as well make this just an alt universe and call it a day.
That's what I've been saying. If this was a what if Tolkien thing, honestly, I could be okay with it. But I always understood it. And maybe this is just in my head from when I was like 12 and reading books where words are, that Sauron, he appears in Middle Earth as like this emissary of the gods, basically. They don't think he's just some dude. They're like, oh, you are sent by the god of smiths or the angel of smiths, and you will teach us these things. And they're all in because he's beautiful and he's godly. And so he helps them forge the 9. The elves forge the 9. The elves and him forge the 7. And then they start to go, wait a minute, this dude. And so they run off and forge the 3 while he forges the 1. Something like, so the 9 and the 7 are dispersed. Everyone's wearing them. They think they're cool. They got their bling. They're like, look at me. I'm one of the 9 immortal kings. I'm not going to die. The dwarves like, I got all this gold. There's 7 of us. And then Sauron puts on the 1 ring and binds them all to him.
No, this is what I think they're going to do. They said 5 seasons worth. I think since we got the rings for the elves in this season, we're gonna get the dwarves, the dwarvish rings in the next, and then the following season, season 3, we're gonna get the rings for men, and then season 4, the one ring for Sauron, and then season 5 is gonna be the War of the Last Alliance.
Right, except that Sauron cannot forge the rings with the elves now because they already know who he is.
And not only that, they've only forged the 3. They and from what I've been
here's the thing.
reading,
Hold on. He has had many different forms he's taken in a physical body. We had Iluvatar, we had the Bearer of Gifts, we had the Smith, and I think there's one more.
So you're saying he may take a different form next season. We don't know who he is again.
Exactly.
He's a Hardfoot.
God damn it!
No, I don't think so. I'm not going to give them that credit because I don't think they have that much to them. These writers spent so long. The whole story.
Did they though?
No,
Okay,
I could literally write half of this show. Literally,
but
I could
they-
say some
Pixel,
dialogue.
What are you saying, Pixel?
This last episode was pretty much what we were thinking it was going to be, what this whole show was supposed to be leaning towards. They wasted 7 episodes on Mount Doom, the creation of Mordor, then decided to rush into this one episode.
I think that's okay. What they
And
should
then
have is
rush this
focused
into
on
one
that
episode.
more. Focused on this, what they did in this one episode more, because it is titled The Rings of Fucking Power. Obviously not the same context, but then also have the creation of Mordor, because the creation of Mordor is a big deal. We're getting Mordor.
That's where the One Ring is forged too. So
Yeah.
we need Mordor, and I like that.
I agree that we need it, but to have that and then rush in this episode the creation of the Elven Rings.
Season 2. Mordor could have been all season 2 could have been about the creation of Mordor. Let this one be about the creation of the Elven Rings or something. But again, I think we should have had the 9 and the 7 already dispersed before the Elven Rings get made.
Yeah.
After the elves get suspicious and go, wait, we need our own rings. But I figured something out while we were talking. I know who Sauron is.
Oh my God. Who is it?
He's the apple. The apple that the stranger is carrying is Sauron. It's a metaphor, Garden of Eden, all this stuff. The apple is Sauron.
Now, do you guys want to see what is reported by the Hollywood Reporter from the showrunners' mouths themselves?
I really don't, but go ahead.
I am so confused by this, and that's why I have to show it.
Okay. I'm waiting for you to share your screen.
There you go. Season 2 of The Rings of Power. Showrunners say Sauron will be like Walter White.
I've actually never seen the.
God, how have you never seen that? It's one of the best shows ever made.
Eric was always telling me this and trying to get me to watch it, and I trusted and respected his opinion. But so I tried to watch the first episode, and I'm like, oh man, this is too much like my childhood. I grew up. I grew up on fucking Meth Mountain. I am not. It's too much. I'm like, this is too real. And I told him that. He's like, yeah, actually, that makes sense. And I said, does it get easier?
No.
He goes,
no.
Don't. And he said, you know what? I take it back. Don't watch this show. I should not have recommended this to you. So, okay.
Better Call Saul is good though. Definitely, like you
don't watch that show either. Don't watch it either.
Oh, I think.
Either way,
but
let's get into what they said. Let me hide this real quick.
like Walter White.
The Lord of the Rings showrunners are interviewed about the finale's big Sauron reveal and what it means for the next season. They may be viewers who are like, this is the story we were hoping to get in season 1. In season 2, we're giving it to them. Okay, awesome. So you admit you wrote something everyone knew was not going to like in season 1.
Well, I don't actually mind that so much in terms of sometimes the build up. If you're building like a 5-season story and you sit there and go, okay, we have to get the pieces in place. We just went this when we were doing our Supernova book. The first book was really just meant to be the build up for what was going to be the second and third books. That's where all the real good stuff was going to be. But if we just jumped to the second and third books without the first book, without all that setup, they wouldn't have meant anything. They wouldn't have been good. So sometimes you have to do that.
Here's the thing, though. We're 20% of the way done.
That's not very far into a story, though.
I would disagree. For a TV show, that's pretty far.
Well, when you think about it in terms of one story, 20% is just build up. That's still setup time.
But it's still like a TV show, though. That's still a lot of TV.
I need you to scroll down. I need to hear what the fucking hell their reasoning is that they think that they can equate their version of Sauron, Mr. Halbrand, as Walter White. I need to understand what the hell they
Rings of Power's biggest season 1 secret is out. Sauron has been hiding in plain sight as Halbrand. We all knew that. The Aragorn-like drifter who pretended, or at least allowed Galadriel to believe that he was the long-lost king of the Southlands. Showrunners J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay gave The Hollywood Reporter some insight into the thought process of introducing the Dark Lord as a charming low man, and also teased what comes next for the character in season 2.
Oh, God.
What's in the Lord of the Rings books? Okay. What's in the Lord of the Rings books?
They should open one and find out.
It's an all-encompassing evil that everyone is afraid of. And it's so powerful, it doesn't even have to be manifested physically. McKay says he's an image of an eye in Peter Jackson's trilogy. He's the eye on the tower. We felt Sauron should be a character in his own right. I mean, he was in the Second Age, so that makes sense. You didn't have to throw shade at Jackson trilogy just to say something that was blatantly obvious.
The funny thing is, even in the Jackson trilogy, though that we never see Sauron past the beginning of Fellowship in the flashback, it's alluded to that he is not an eye. He is still a person. We just don't see him.
We just see they even said his spirit lived on, and that's what was the eye.
We also know that the eye isn't even his spirit.
It's part of it. It's part of it.
Well, either way, he is a being. He's the one. He tortures Gollum. He actually tortures Gollum.
Yeah. Then he says, we felt Sauron should be characters. All right. We also we wanted to study the current runnings within him in a way that hopefully would reward audiences as they follow him forward as he becomes the Dark Lord. You know him as a person outside the name Sauron in some ways. We wanted to do an origin story for Sauron. Okay. By not giving us an origin story for Sauron? Or are they saying that's going to be part of season 2?
No. They're saying that this is the origin. As I read yesterday, somebody say they went ahead and made incel Sauron. Galadriel denies him, and he's basically swearing that, okay.
All right.
I can understand where they're coming from, but kind of not as well.
Okay, so can we bounce back to this 20% of a story thing? Because this is important to me. 20% is nothing of a story. That is just setup time. And as an example, I want to give you, what do you think the 53-minute mark, which is 20% of the extended Fellowship of the Ring, where do you think they are at that point, at that exact moment?
They would be just getting to Rivendell.
And no. At that point, Samwise Gamgee has a bunch of carrots in his arms, and Merry and Pippin just come and run over them. That's where Merry and Pippin first show up.
Wait.
In the extended edition?
Extended version?
I opened it up and checked while we were talking.
Did you say extended version?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't hear that.
Oh,
but that's not Merry and Pippin's first introduction.
I said first in terms of the journey for Claire.
Okay.
Obviously, they show up at the party.
So, here's okay. With that in mind, I understand what you're saying. But when you're talking about, and I know you have worked on television, when you have a overall 5-season story, you still have to make your first season just flow. It has to be a proper chapter.
This is true, and I'm gonna use a different analogy for this one that supports your point and undermines mine. Because why not? Supergirl Cosmic Adventures, 6 issues. each one advances the narrative, but each one has to be a self-contained story where the reader feels like they got a beginning, a middle, and an end that was satisfying. And then when you get to the 5th and 6th issue, it pulls it all together into one big climactic moment. So it was you're not wrong, and they definitely did not structure it that way. I'm just saying that I can see some logic to it. I'm not saying they handled it well, but I get the basic concept. It's not a wrong concept. It's just a poorly executed use of that concept.
Well, let's put it this way. There's another fantasy show out right now called House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
I'm behind. No spoilers.
It's 8 episodes in, exactly the same amount as Rings of Power. We are already there's so much more in House of the Dragon than we got with Rings of Power. House of the Dragon is
written by George R. R. Martin to work off of.
Well, to be fair, Lord of the Rings had a book written by, I don't know, Tolkien?
But not for this specific stuff.
Yeah, for literally the Rings of Power.
I mean, there's there's notes for it, but I don't think there's as much detail like work. I don't think we don't get exactly what conditions were the Elven Rings forged and how did Sauron exactly.
I mean, that's the same thing. That's the same thing for House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon.
Fire and Blood. I thought Fire and Blood went into more detail.
No, Fire and Blood is basically like a soft history book written by a maester, just trying to go ahead and chapter everything Targaryen.
No, not written by a maester. It's told by an unreliable maester. That was a big distinction. He was an unreliable maester who told it rather than wrote it down. And also, the House of the Dragon show is actually kind of a small portion of Fire and Blood.
Yeah, because Fire and Blood is the entire history of the Targaryen lines. I've read it.
Well, I'm not gonna. I want to avoid the need to compare these because I think that's something that people really like to do because they're both happen to be fantasy shows. I think it's
right now. This specific time is a perfect time to talk about it because we're both at 8 episodes in.
Is this the last episode? Is 8 the last episode for House of the Dragon?
No, there's 2 more, I believe.
Yeah, there's 2 more for House.
I feel like after season with episode 8, I seriously felt like we got like a full story, and it could be next season, could be the start of episode 9.
I'll be clear, I don't feel like I didn't get a full story with Rings of Power season 1. What I feel like is I got a lot of. They could have done this story in 4 episodes.
I agree with that.
It's a lot of fluff, a lot of filler, and what I needed more of was it just felt like honestly. The reveal of Sauron shouldn't have even happened. Like I would have been fine with that. Like still wondering. Like this should have been the setup of we've crafted these 9 rings. What will we do, or something like that?
Now I'll give them credit. The fact that they actually told us who Sauron was is their saving grace. Because if they didn't do that, people would have been so pissed. I don't think anyone would have came back.
No. Just from the stance of. We are going to need to keep people hooked, keep people coming back. A massive audience. This is to decide the streaming future of Amazon. So with that in mind, they need a huge audience. They went ahead and decided we're going to go ahead, have this big reveal of Sauron. Nobody cares. And I feel like that goes for most.
No.
That was like the main thing. That was the main thing I cared about. I wanted to know who Sauron was.
But if they had gone, they needed honestly. The last 8 episodes should have had a lot more. Like, where is he? Where is he? Who is he? Is he someone? Is he Bob? Is Bob Sauron? Is Dave Sauron? And leaving it with some question marks, with us wondering which one of these MacGuffins was Sauron. Would have helped bring us to the next season with a question mark. They answered it. Now we know. This honestly, they don't have to do another season. They could stop right now because the one big question I had was who is Sauron, and it was answered. Now, okay, everything else I don't really care about. Like there he is.
That's why that could be good because they could actually backtrack a little bit and correct the road for season 2 since they answered their biggest thing.
But what's the hook?
That's my
exactly what I'm saying. What's the hook? They got to give us something big for next season. I think they will.
I don't see that how you when you give a hook, you don't usually give the hook, get rid of the hook, and come up with another hook. Keep the hook. Sorry, you haven't gotten to talk much.
Yeah, no, the hook of it all is supposed to, like, Sauron is our big bad, and we're supposed to have this huge reveal. The reveal, they spent less time revealing Sauron than they did spend with the Harfoot saying goodbye to one another. They did not care about Sauron. We do not care about Sauron. This is a corpse. They went ahead and they took the Lord of the Rings name and just labeled it right here, and they've let the corpse rot, and it looks almost like Lord of the Rings, but it's not. It's gone. Lord of the Rings died.
I'll say this. It's different, and yes, I am so much a Tolkien purist, but I kind of really I enjoy what we're seeing, and I do think the characters themselves are what keeps me coming back in their relationships, because I truly love the casting of everyone they casted and the characters they're playing. And let's be honest, the number one thing I'm pissed off about for this episode isn't Sauron, isn't Galadriel, no fucking Durin.
They went ahead in the previously and showed the whole thing with Durin's father, Durin, telling him that you're no son of mine, that leave it, and go ahead and leave that there. Why? They weren't in this episode. There was no point in giving us a taste of what happened with the dwarves.
They were too busy having the Harfoots say goodbye to each other, which was, I'm going to say, you guys aren't going to like my opinion on this, but it gave me such PTSD flashbacks of Jackson with everyone, oh, Mr. Frodo, let me take 20 minutes saying how much I love you. It's like, God, just move on. I did not need that. And I don't know, maybe if they just did an episode, like one episode is just Harfoots, one episode is just the dwarves, and just did it that way each episode. Like, I don't know. Again, I'm enjoying the material because, and I know that this is a bit of an age issue bias, having grown up in such a dearth of good, like seeing this stuff like this, like I will never get tired of it. It is so amazing that we have this show. It's just, it could be so much better.
Agreed.
The writing is just,
We have to take Chibnall's line. We have to take Chibnall's line.
Yeah.
It could have been a bit better written.
Why can't we have that as a clip, dude, we can play on here?
I need to find it. I'll
you
get
do.
it.
Please.
No, but here's the thing. All right. This show's in shambles. Kind of. I am grateful that we have it. I like it. But at the same time, it's not going to be the show we all hoped it would be. So I'm hoping for two things. When they get to the Lord of the Rings trilogy proper and The Hobbit, I hope those would be good. And the third thing, if we ever get the First Age Morgoth story, that could be fucking amazing.
You're not wrong. This just everything feels like there were bigger stories told in this world before this. So they keep referencing Morgoth without giving us enough context on who Morgoth is. And then it feels like there were bigger stories told after this in the Third Age. Right now they're making the Second Age feel small. And that's not a good thing. I mean, they could have opened this show the way Fellowship opens with Galadriel doing the voiceover and Rings of Power, and all of them were deceived. They could have done this with, like, this one should have opened with Iluvatar singing, like, a story being told about how Iluvatar sung the world into existence, and how Morgoth sung the note of corruption, and how evil was allowed into the world because of that, but it's still all of Iluvatar's plan. They could have done something with that, made it feel bigger, given us a sense of the scope of this world. Instead, Galadriel likes paper boats. Like,
Anyways, here's what I think I found what they were talking about.
Oh, okay. I'll pull up the screen again because I set it down. There we go.
Payne says there's something that Middleton does in Paradise Lost that we talked about a lot. where he makes Satan really compelling of a character. In some ways, he's the first anti-hero and compelling, and you can't take your eyes off him. We want Satan to be so persuasive that he also seduces the reader. And you're unconsciously won over so that you perceive your own fallness and your need for redemption. He continues, in Tolkien, Sauron is a deceiver, and we know that in the Second Age he appears in fair form, which is his Anatar form. Anatar. Sorry, I get Anatar and Iluvatar mixed up every now and then.
I knew it.
So, what if he sneaks up on you and is able to get you to sympathize with him, and you get you to be on board with him? Dude, I'm having a hard time reading right now.
I think we can all see it, and I see what you're saying, and I see what they're saying. My problem, and I will say this, when he was talking to Galadriel, I'm like, dude's making some good points. Maybe Galadriel would listen. But then he instantly is a dick about it, and you don't have any sympathy for him because he's a dick, and Galadriel...
He's an incel.
It just, it doesn't...
Oh,
it doesn't
no.
work.
We got a problem. We got
What?
a huge fucking problem. Season 1 opens up with who is Galadriel? Where did she come from? What did she suffer? Why is she driven? Said Payne. We're doing the same thing with Sauron in Season 2.
Why did we?
Sauron doesn't need to be complexly evil.
That's like his. Like, I understand wanting to flesh out a character. I absolutely understand that. But his purpose is to be this evil beyond evil.
Yeah.
He's supposed to represent that.
He's
You
fallen.
don't want to Walter White him. You don't want to make us, we want to fight for it. What the hell are you talking about?
Here we go. Sauron can now just be Sauron. Like Tony Soprano or Walter White, he's evil, but complexly evil. Wow. Okay, I see what they're going for, but it's flawed.
It's flawed.
It's
not what we need to Sauron. That's one of the reasons Sauron worked so well in the Jackson films is because we never really see him. We see him in armor, and we see him as a manifest as the Eye, but we do not need to see him because he is omnipresent.
Right.
Like he is the force of evil itself in the world. He is Morgoth's student. Morgoth is the devil. He is the student of the devil. That's good enough.
That's like, it's like literally Sauron. Okay, Morgoth is Satan. Literally, it's just the embodiment of Satan in Tolkien.
Morgoth is Satan.
Sauron is literally the Antichrist, the son of Satan.
Functionally, yes.
Yes, and it's kind of what he was going for. And the thing is with the Antichrist and Sauron and why they're so alike is because the Bible, if you've ever read it, I've read some of it. I haven't read it all, but I've read some of it. They say the Antichrist will come and everyone will love him. That's functionally what's happened with Sauron in this season. Functionally,
It seems like most people don't actually like him very much, except Galadriel, which seems like the worst person to fall for it.
I shouldn't say like. I should for Sauron. In this, people ended up trusting him until the end.
True. Well, I mean, maybe if he had shown up, I needed a season, like all of season 2 of him working with Celebrimbor.
Yes,
right there. That's the problem. It was 5 minutes of him going, you could put some alloy in that like tin, and we did this thing, and it was all really cool. And Celebrimbor was like, oh, that could really work. And then he goes, I'm evil. Like,
you cut out.
Oh, who?
Landry.
No, I heard him.
Shut up. Stop it.
No, I feel like a lot of this just boils down to they're incompetent. they're incompetent writers. They just do not understand what they're writing.
I think the small scenes are good.
Yeah, there are small things in it that are redeeming, but guess what? When you have this slog fest that we're viewing here, it's just so hard to support it. And I've tried. I have said when something I've enjoyed, when there's something I've enjoyed, I enjoyed most of the Harfoot stuff. Yet at the same time, look what we got. It's just painful. And it does really boil down to, oh crap, it didn't have the audio.
Nah, but it was so
Doesn't
good.
have
all
the
day.
Hey, can you share mine?
Sure.
It could have been a lot better. It could have been slightly better written, especially the
Especially the last story.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, I think there are a lot of great small scenes. I actually really liked the battle with the 3 white people, and I mean WIGHT. White.
Yes, I know what you mean.
And
Can we just say 3 white people, evil, and 3 white hooded cloaks?
Oh, well.
And I liked that fight. I liked the awakening of Gandalf, even though I don't want Gandalf to be in this. I liked the scene. I don't like the context of the scene.
I don't like how it's written either.
I am
good.
I gotta say this.
Come on.
I hate that Gandalf's in this so much.
He
But
should
at
not
the
be in it.
same time, when he was fully awoken and he can understand people, speak proper, he knows what he's thinking, like just a normal person. He had such a gentleness to him that I think he could be a great character.
He would be a great Jim Henson in a biopic.
Yes, he does look like Jim Henson.
That's fair.
Dude, good call, dude.
Some of these comments that I see, they snuck in one more slow-mo horse riding scene. I was worried.
I do have to leave here in like 5 minutes.
No, okay, that's fine.
Right. Do
just
we want to rank it? Vote it?
oh, have we done rankings for this?
I don't think so, but I feel like we
think
can do the whole
have
show now.
once.
If we're doing overall, this is like 3.5. It's visually stunning. There's
Out
no
of
doubt
5?
about that. Huh?
Out of 5?
Oh, out of 5? No,
Is that a 3.5 out
He
of
means
5?
out of 10.
out of 10.
See, I was gonna give it exactly 7 out of 10, so double yours.
I'd probably give it 7 out of 10 also.
I'm glad that y'all feel that way.
I mean, here's the
Personally,
thing. I don't want to shock you. I have multiple rankings.
oh, okay, hit
Oh,
me, go ahead.
If this was just a nameless fantasy series, like, the Magic of Midkemia or whatever, but that's something else. Anyway, if there was a nameless fantasy series and it had no connection with Tolkien at all, I would be giving this a much higher ranking. As a Tolkien adaptation, it's pretty low. And that's where I'm with you, Pixel. It's probably a 3 something. If
Okay.
this was just some other fantasy series created from whole cloth for Amazon, I'd be like, I wouldn't care about the criticisms I have. It'd probably be a 7 to an 8 because there are great performers, great sets, great visuals. The pacing is terrible. The character development is thin, but I'm invested enough to see where it goes. There are some interesting seeds planted here, but this would have been better off as an original creation and not a Tolkien adaptation.
2 things. I think I got 2 rankings as well.
Okay.
As an overall show, for what it was, I got a 7. But as a Tolkien adaptation, probably a 3 or 4. So, I mean, I can't go any higher than 4.
Yeah, I can't do multiple. It's just a 3.5.
Well, here's the thing.
If it
No,
was
no,
on
I didn't even finish.
Okay.
It genuinely pissed me off. They killed Celeborn. Do you know how important he was in the Lord of the Rings proper? He wasn't on the actual novels that much. But the fact that he literally was one of the big key factors. He was the one who stormed. I always forget the name of it. I always want to say Bellador or what's the name of it? The place where we see the necromancer in The Hobbit.
I used to know that. I should know.
I can't remember the name, bro. Well, anyways,
yeah.
Anyways, he storms that temple. I can't remember the name.
It's not Dol Guldur.
It is Dol Guldur. He's the
Is
one
it?
who. Yeah, it's Dol Guldur. It's he storms that. He raids that with his elves, and that's where he dies. And if it wasn't for that conquer, all those orcs would have went over to Mordor and just worked their stuff even more on what we had going on. Man, yeah. So Celeborn was a true goat and one of like the most important characters in the Lord of the Rings proper, and they killed him in the Second Age. So what? Galadriel could be like a strong, independent woman.
I'm with you on this, and I think that they did all that to give us a Galadriel that missed the real power we got from Galadriel in the Third Age, which is that quiet power, which is a great contrast to Sauron. I don't know who this character is. Again, if she was Sally the elf, great character. But as Galadriel, who the hell is this?
I understand that I am a man. But Disa is she is the strongest woman of this show.
She's
compared to all
I wouldn't marry her tomorrow.
That is wife material right there. Disa, absolutely. She is not second to her husband. They are in a partnership. They are together, and everything that she says to Durin matters. And she's the one who
when she tries to incite him to rebel against the king. I mean, that went great, but
but the king was wrong, and now look what we have. We have these freaking. What?
The king wasn't wrong. The king he was so right.
Okay, but he was right and wrong.
He was absolutely right. He's like, if we dig there, bad things will happen.
Well,
he couldn't have known. He couldn't have known.
He doesn't know there's a Balrog right down there.
Listen, I love this quote from Neil Gaiman. He says when he was interviewing people when he was a kid, he'd tell them he was part of Metro magazine, a magazine that was never actually made at that time. But it sounded like there was a magazine. It sounded like you've heard, like, oh, I've heard of Metro magazine before. Yeah. So, but the thing is, he told people like he worked for this job, that job, whatever, like different parts of interviewing stuff at a magazine company. But he said he made sure to get every single one of those jobs when he was older, because then he didn't lie. He was chronologically challenged. Okay. Now, Durin, the third, right now is in the wrong. But he's morally, because we know the future, right.
Right.
So let the future come. Then he wasn't wrong. He was just chronologically behind.
Honestly, I actually thought he was morally right. Everything he said, it's like everything has its time. The elves have had their time.
No, I think that was more.
See, that's just his elf racism shining through.
I didn't take it that way. He's like, these are mortal beings, walk around, never dying, and demanding things that they have no right to, just so they can manage to extend their forever lives. And he's like, and it's going to come at a cost. There is no free ride. It will come at a cost, and they're asking us to bear that cost.
But they have the power to make sure other living things don't die, and they're still being so proud they choose not to help.
But
that's where he's morally wrong.
If I think it gets into, it's a trolley problem situation. Do you pull the lever and save one person, but 6 people die? That's what Durin is facing. He's facing a trolley problem. Whether he has a reason to know that it's a trolley problem or not, somehow he is aware enough to go, this is bad. What we're doing is bad. It's causing earthquakes. It's causing cave-ins. We could lose a lot of dwarves. We got to stop. We got to stop. And Durin the Four is like, no, man, I'm friends with an elf. I'm with Durin 3 on this.
Okay, I was with Durin 3 in the first conversation we saw with him and during the fourth. But the second conversation, I think he's wrong.
I mean, it's just a question of how because we know the future. It's difficult to say. That's the thing. We know how it ends, but knowing how it ends means that the decisions along the way, it's just from the stance of during the fourth, his dad just looks like an old asshole who hates elves.
But don't forget, Durin 3 is not completely ignorant of what will happen because their digging keeps causing earthquakes that has almost lost a lot of dwarven lives.
Yep.
So he's not coming with nothing. He says, this is not working. Something is wrong here. Even if I don't know what, it almost killed a bunch of dwarves. And I'm not willing to risk one dwarven life to save all the elves. I'm just not. Those are my people. Those aren't my people. And I got to protect my people.
That is a true king stance. When you're the king,
Yes.
you should be, first thing is preserve the life of your own people first.
Yeah, those lives are entrusted to him. And by proxy, Durin the Fourth has to care for those lives, and he's not. He's abdicating. So
but still, Disa is wife material either way.
Yeah, she is.
And you're not wrong.
So that's where the real problem of it lies. Even at the end, Galadriel's hiding the fact that she knows that Halbrand and Sauron. Why?
But why?
Why?
Why did you do that?
You know, I literally said
for Sauron.
I literally said when she was running back after Elrond pulled her out of the river, as soon as she started running off, Elrond goes, "What's the matter?" I literally said out loud, "Say the words, Galadriel. Say the words," and she did. And I was like, "Why is she not telling Elrond?"
What? And oh my gosh, to make the woman whose entire mission this season I'm going to find Sauron and put him down once and for all, to bring him to it. And it could be delicious irony, but it's just written.
I said that exact same thing
poorly.
on our very, very first talk.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it could be a great stance for it, but it's not because it's surrounded by so
That's
much
why I knew
love.
he was Halbrand, because she was trying so hard to find Sauron. The writers were going to be like, he is the great deceiver. So who's the one person that Sauron needs to deceive in order to stay alive and move forward with his plans? The one person looking for him.
It would have been great if it wasn't so stupid.
Badly
In this
written.
Soon. Give it like this. If what we just saw was a end of season 2, and we had another season of him working with Celebrimbor on rings. Okay,
Yeah.
Sure. Give it.
Build it up.
Not letting it breathe.
I got to go.
Okay,
Yeah.
bye.
Go ahead. We'll wrap up.
See you guys.
Bye.
So it's just
Now we can say all those things about Jimmy we've always wanted to say.
yeah. Fuck Jimmy. This show, I want to say that I like it. I do. I was hoping for it. I was rooting for it. But at the stance,
You totally were.
the stance that it's at right now, I can't. And we talked about it before. We don't want to compare to House of the Dragon. They're two separate fantasy shows. They have two separate worlds and how they should work. The difference is one understands the world that it's in, and the other doesn't care. And that's on the writers.
I cannot speak, having not watched enough of the Dragon Show yet. My big criticism with Rings of Power is one of pacing, just a structural issue. It is poorly paced. While I love a lot of the material, and I certainly loved seeing the Elven Rings get forged, there is a pacing problem here.
Yeah.
That is absolutely critically flawed. Like the literally the Sauron dude shows up at the Forge of Celebrimbor, goes, "You should add some other metals to that," and then boom, he's revealed as Sauron. Like,
somebody said, "Oh wow, he taught metallurgy to him." The one who's been doing this for centuries.
I mean, really, that should have been like, "Oh yeah, add metal to other metals. Thank you."
Thanks. I didn't know I could do that.
Whoa. I've only been alive 20,000 years doing this.
They don't.
I did like once he is revealed as Sauron, his performance and his absolute like, I am an ancient being and you have nothing on me. I liked that. Again, if it was a season later, I could have enjoyed it, but I thought that here what we have is a being that he's the anti-Gandalf. He is the same race as Gandalf. He is technically, like we are seeing.
That's why those priestesses think they found Sauron.
And I loved seeing that, because I always loved the idea that a lot of people seem to always miss, is that the wizards and Sauron are the same. They're the same beings. They're just, and that's why Gandalf says, if I took the ring, I would become Sauron. Because he, just like Saruman does basically become Sauron. Gandalf could have. It's just an interesting aspect. And I thought that was something I've always wanted to see played out in the Lord of the Rings universe. But the pacing is just bad. And because the pacing is bad, we feel like we're getting half a show. Because there's no closure for half the storylines, and the other half of the storylines feel like rushed and not developed. It reminds me, this is season 1, and it reminds me of the last season of Game of Thrones. In terms of like, that's not where we want to be. We want to be going, what? Show me more. Instead of going, well, you could have done something with that, but you didn't. So it's not that the basic ideas are wrong, they're just poorly executed.
Yeah. And the streaming future of Prime Video looks very bleak if this is to decide it.
Listen, I will watch every season of this.
Of course.
To see all of it. And I want to sit here and talk about it too. There's a lot of room for it to redeem itself. It's just, will people give it a chance? And will they manage it? We'll see. Time will tell.
Yeah. And I'm going to be honest. I can understand why people can't give it any more of a chance.
I mean, I will I never will. I never will understand, but that's because I think people don't know how good it is to have something as bad as as bad of Rings of Power, as flawed. I don't like to say as bad. As flawed as Rings of Power is, we live in a world where a show like that exists. Like, you don't remember the dark times. You weren't there for them. Yeah. Like, this is still, we are like, if you send this show back in time to when I was like 15, people would lose their freaking minds. Yep. They would just be like, what is this? It would have changed everything. And so there's a little corner of me that's always stuck there. And I know that that's a bit of just being like old timey and whatnot, but there's something fundamentally true of just how jaded we have become as a culture, that we can look at something that has that level of production and go, man, we live in the golden age of cinema and television. We've never had an era like this. So that we can sit here, get on our little video chats and go, it wasn't that good. We're so lucky. We're so lucky that this is
I agree.
Barrel. The bottom of the barrel is so high now.
Right. I mean, I agree. But I guess that'll be a conversation. Hopefully, season 2, I'm pretty sure, is already in the works. I don't think they're going to cancel it.
No,
so
it can happen.
We'll be back for the second one at least, and we'll go from there. I want to thank you, if you're watching after, so much for watching. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Helps out the channel. Leave your thoughts down below. But that's it for this. We should have something in the coming weeks, also Lord of the Rings related. Yes, you can see the delight there. You can go ahead and guess.
I put my wizard hat back on for whatever mysterious thing he's talking about.
But we will discuss the details, and we'll have a post about it soon. So thank you so much for watching Pixel Lore. We will see you next time. Goodbye. Farewell.